What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. This video we are looking at the Friday slate. Happy Friday to everybody. We have 9 games tonight to discuss, so let's get started. Hopefully you guys all had a good day yesterday. It's a good day on DraftKings, not so much on FanDuel. On DraftKings, made some changes to the video, a few changes once Porzingis was doubtful and then he got ruled out. So I ended up going Jamal Murray, Derrick Rose, RJ Barrett, Michael Porter, had Jokic, and then had De'Aaron Fox, Kleber, and Boban once he was starting. Originally had Powell in there, but then obviously had to get up to Boban. So hit about 289 and a quarter. See what tonight brings. So let's get started. As always, appreciate you guys the like button, subscribe if you have not already. You can check out Twitter if you want the updates. Check out the website if you want to join, and check out Prize Picks if you want to start playing over there and get some free cash to start. So, looking at the point guard options today, also, the Sacramento Kings, another thing we learned is to just take the over on basically every single Kings game. Gave up 140 points to the New York Knickerbockers, so that is pretty sad, and they are on a back-to-back tonight, so definitely want to get some Pistons in your lineup. But looking at the point guard options, we have LeBron James once again with the Q tag next to his name, but he should be able to play. He's probable. Tough game against the Jazz. Wasn't popular. Tough matchup. Nobody really went to him. He was 10,900. Price tag is 10.7. It's a good spot against Portland. I think he's in play. If we get some more value on the slate right now, we don't have a ton of value. So for that reason, I don't have him in my initial lineup. Lillard looks good as well at 10-1. Coming off of another good game from him, he's been really playing a lot better recently. Took 21 shots against Denver. This Lakers defense is pretty solid. But I feel like Lillard against LeBron, both of them are probably going to go back and forth throughout the game, and both have big time ceilings. Then you have Trae Young at 99. He looks all right. I'd rather go up to Lillard, I think. Steph Curry is 97, priced where he kind of should be. If you play a bunch of teams, you should have him in a few. He gives you upside in the 60s, high 50s. Price tag is fair, and the matchup is great. So I think if you make a bunch of teams, you should be in like 15% of your lineups. SGA was great last game, had him in there, put up 61 against the Spurs. Price tag is 88, so we need like 50 at least out of him. Definitely doable. There's no Al Horford here, and the Hawks defense is pretty poor. Good center in there, and Capella defensively, but I still like SGA a bit just because he is going to carry the Thunder without Horford, especially offensively, and get some more usage. Don't have much interest in LaMelo Ball. It's 87. The price tag is pretty high now that he still has Rozier's playing a lot better, and Gordon Hayward is playing still not up to his standards, but his price tag has come way down. So I'd rather go to Gordon Hayward than play LaMelo Ball at 8,700. Donovan Mitchell, I just don't really play anybody on the Jazz right now unless they're dealing with some injuries. You could maybe make a case for Conley because he's super cheap, but I don't think I'll get to Mitchell against the Heat at least. Then Van Fleet, I'd rather go to $7,000 Kyle Lowry. It's a good spot for the Raptors. They should be able to put up some points. Houston started off the season really good defensively, but they've absolutely fallen off recently. They just don't really seem to care. Oladipo's finally back, but he's like chucking up a lot of breaks. John Wall is trying to keep his team in it, but also John Wall is almost only so much he can do. He's been struggling with the shot, and they just really don't have that much continuity on offense with both John Wall and Oladipo trying to do like solo. They really need Christian Wood back ASAP, but don't have interest really in John Wall. Van Fleet. Brogdon against Boston is not the best spot. He gives you like a lot of minutes upside, and if he's playing really well, he can put up 50, so he should be in your player pool at least, but he's not a core piece just based on the matchup. I like De'Aaron Fox. I was going to him every single day, basically. Finally starting to look better. 52.5 last night, 43 the game before, playing big minutes. Matchup is solid against Detroit. Price tag is really cheap. He will be a guy that I definitely want to get to tonight at 7,700. We also have Chris Paul at 75 against the Bulls defense. He should be in line for another 40, 50-point DraftKings outing. He's been playing great. Named to the All-Star team as not much of a surprise as the Suns are looking pretty good out there in the West. So he's also in play if you wanted to go with another 7K point guard option. And then the last 7K option is Kyle Lowry, who's only 7K flat. Finally came back from missing a few games. Played 35 minutes. Florida with a triple-double. He's just been doing his thing. He's been shooting the ball really efficiently, even missing a few games. Didn't stop him. Shot 69%, shot 58, 50, 67, 50. Made both of his shots before he got hurt. He's been shooting the ball really well recently, and it's definitely a great spot for him to continue that against the Houston Rockets. So at $7,000, I like Kyle Lowry as another guy that gives you solid chance to get you 6x and upside to get you 7, maybe even 8x. So really like the 7K point guard option with Fox and Lowry. In the 6K range, you have Halliburton, you have Kobe White. We have Kemba, who's only 62. That price tag on Kemba is nice. He's been really struggling with the shot all season, but it's not very often we get him at this cheap of a price tag. So I think he's worth a shot if you are feeling Kemba. He is definitely in play tonight at that cheap price tag. Back to point guard. And then other guys in the 5K range, we have like Kendrick Nunn is not much of a play tonight. 58 against the Jazz. He's been doing a lot better since, well, when they were missing Dragic, and then Dragic returned last game, and then they could be getting Hero back, and the matchup is really tough. So if Hero's back and Dragic is still playing, then I don't have interest in that price tag. And then you have like Dennis Smith, 46, Saban Lee. Both guys are really similarly priced now, so I feel like one of them is going to have a good game at least. If Smith's starting again, I think I'd probably just roll the dice with Smith because 46 and 43 is not much of a difference. And Saban Lee's been shooting out of his mind. Like, I don't expect the rookie to continue shooting 100% from three the last two games, shooting over 60 plus, 70%, 50 plus from the floor. It's just a little bit unsustainable for a rookie and basically for any player in the NBA for that matter. So I'd rather go to Dennis Smith over Lee tonight. And in the value range, if the Clippers decide to rest Paul George and or Kawhi on a back-to-back, then you could look to Beverly, you could look to Jackson. And I don't know if Winslow will play on a back-to-back. He'll probably sit. But I don't have much interest in anybody else. So point guard, got a lot of good options at the top. Shooting guard, we have SGA and Zach LaVine. LaVine, I don't want to really get to him at 96 against the Suns. Suns played pretty good defense. I'd rather go to SGA if I had to pick between the two. Don't have interest in Jaylen Brown. The Celtics have been super frustrating for the roster. So I'm basically not going to have much of them, especially with Kemba back after resting. Don't have interest in Rozier or Mitchell. Van Fleet, not really looking at him. Shooting guard, I'd rather go a bit cheap here with, in the 6K range, you have Halliburton. We have Kobe White. In the 5K range, pretty nicely priced guys like Buddy Hield is 58. Good spot for him to finally have a good day. He's been struggling. I love Dennis Schroeder at 59. The Lakers really are missing Schroeder and Davis. Schroeder, they just don't have any other guy that can handle the ball much besides LeBron. Caruso can, but he's not, not going to play that many minutes. I really think Schroeder's going to have a good performance here against Portland. It's a great spot, and I don't think he'll be limited. Hopefully not. He's only missed a few games, so if they give him full minutes, great spot. Without Davis, he gets a big bump in usage, becomes a second option instead of the third option. And they decided to bring Kuzma off the bench, so if that continues, then just another less of a high usage player that Schroeder's playing with in the starting lineup. So feel like he looks like a really strong option at the high 5K range. We also have basically it in the 5K range is Dennis Schroeder and Buddy Hield. In the 4K range, you have Garrett Temple, plays like 30 plus minutes. He looks okay if he can get hot, but don't know if the matchup is that great for him. And then in the value range, if the Grizzlies decide to rest a couple guys on a back-to-back, then maybe you can look to D'Anthony Melton. Maybe we can look to Bane. And then you have Tony Snell at 3,400. Never thought I'd recommend Snell. But if there is no Reddish again, he's been actually hitting value, playing good minutes in the starting lineup. But if Reddish is back, then that all goes away. So just take a wait-and-see approach on the Hawks tonight. And that's pretty much it at shooting guard. Small forward, we have LeBron, Butler, Tatum, Kawhi, all above 9,000. I feel like Kawhi is more likely to play than Paul George. So if that's the case, you can go to Kawhi. He looks pretty good at that price tag. I don't know if I'll get to Butler against the Jazz. I'm not really wanting to play anybody in that game. We have a really good price tag on Jeremy Grant at 73. Sat out the last game due to rest, but this is a spot where We saw what the Knicks did to this team. We saw what basically every team has done to the Sacramento defense. They play fast. Detroit gets a big pace bump. Grant's price tag is pretty fair. He's been not great with the peripherals. The scoring has been there basically every game. The peripherals have been up and down. But I feel like if there was any spot where Grant would not struggle shooting, it would be against the Knicks. He'll get a lot of open looks, can drive to the basket. I mean, it will be against the Kings. He'll get a lot of open looks, can be able to drive to the basket here. They don't have much of a rim protector, so he looks like a guy that I want to get to at 7,300. And then we have Gordon Hayward at 67. It's a nice matchup against the Warriors, even though they have been good at not giving up many points. Still like the fact that teams still play pretty fast. They play fast, so the Hornets as a whole, they have a lot of young guys. They also like to go up and down the court. If Hayward is playing well, he'll get you 35, 36 minutes. He's been fine the last couple games, even though he hasn't really made it. He's only been 1 of 10 from three-point land. But he's a guy that will shoot threes, shoots them pretty well, and they're still missing Graham, so still more usage for Hayward, more usage for like Rozier and Ball, but Hayward's price tag is so much different than 84 for Rozier and 87, I think, for Ball. So I'd rather go for Hayward. You have John Collins, 64. Oh, moved over to power. Back to small forward. So Grant, Hayward are the two guys I really like. Yeah, Buddy Hield looks fine. I like Harrison Barnes a bit just because he's super cheap. The matchup is great against Detroit. Don't have interest really in Jones or Brooks or Herter if Reddish is back. Patrick Williams is priced up, so I don't have interest in him. And then in the value range, in the 4K range, if there's no Paul George or no Kawhi, then you could look to Morris at 47. We can maybe look to Bridges at 45, Batum if they're resting a couple guys. And Cam Johnson is 3,500. He's comes off the bench every game, but some games he gets you in the teens, some games he gets you in the 20s and 30s. All depending on how the coach feels, but I feel like 3,500 is cheap enough against Chicago to where you could get you, like even 20 DraftKings points is enough to get you over 6x value. If we don't get more value during the day, which we probably will. Power forward Sabonis is still 10-4. That price tag is really prohibitive. I won't be getting to that price tag. I won't be getting to Tatum. Siakam, I like him, but I'd rather go to Lowry at 7K flat. I like Grant. I'm going to plug him in. Just playing guys against Sacramento is going to be pretty profitable strategy this season. It has been, and I don't think that will stop on a back-to-back with Detroit. Still playing a bit of a tighter rotation, missing, with no Blake Griffin, no Rose, couple of guys, no DeLon Wright, three guys that were getting a lot of usage earlier in the season. I think it's going to help Grant, even though he hasn't been great recently, but he's not been getting a matchup like he does tonight. And then you have Covington, Bagley. I don't have interest. I mean, I'd rather go to Barnes than Bagley at 55 just because the minutes are much higher for Barnes on a typical basis. Washington, if Zeller happens to miss, I think Washington would be a lot better of a play because he could get some minutes at center against Draymond because the Warriors don't play super big, although I think Looney is back. And then if Gallo is 5,000, he had an unbelievably great game. It's against his former team. Maybe he has some revenge on his mind. But if he's still coming off the bench, I don't want to pay 5,000 for him just because that seems like chasing, and I don't want to chase. Especially after I played him the day before on FanDuel, which was annoying. And then Roby is 49. There's no Horford today. The matchup is not the easiest against Capella. So he looks alright, but I think we can do better for value. And like Cam Johnson, I think looks better. You can maybe go to. Don't want to play PJ Tucker, but to be starting at center again, he could have a decent game soon, but nothing is. You never expect a PJ Tucker to go off. And then Sarge, if he misses tonight, then maybe that helps Kaminsky. Maybe that helps Cam Johnson get some more minutes. So keep an eye on Sarge. That news is actually pretty important for value. At center options tonight, Sabonis 10-4. I have no interest there. Bam, is he questionable? Okay, so Bam's questionable. If he misses, then Olynyk would be a good option. But he's 4,600 already. Price tag is nice if there's no Bam. The matchup is not nice. Just take a wait and see approach on the Heat. I don't mind Capella at 78. And then you have DeAndre Ayton at 6,800. We have Plumlee at 65 against the Kings. Should get a ton of rebounding opportunities. Should be able to get a lot of, and he's actually been pretty surprising with assists as well. I think he looks solid tonight. Ever since Blake Griffin stopped playing, his production has really jumped up. He's been getting a lot more rebounds, and the minutes are there. He's been getting you block shots as well recently. It's a great spot against Rashawn Holmes. And against the Kings, will play fast, so there'll be a lot of rebounds to go around for Plumlee and Grant. Hopefully, they can soak up all of them. So that's pretty much it. The 6 pieces that I really like as a first look. Obviously, with NBA things change, but I feel pretty good about Fox. Feel like Grant Plumlee have really good price tags against the Kings defense. I like Lowry 7K price tag, and then Hayward is just too cheap, and Schroeder also cheap without Davis. So that is it for the DraftKings side. We'll go ahead and jump over to FanDuel now. Okay, FanDuel, starting off at point guard, you have Lillard, Curry, both guys at the 10K range. I'd probably go Lillard over Curry if I had to pick. Both, well, Curry has a better matchup, but Lillard, I think, gives you like a little bit higher of a ceiling, although Curry can also go nuts. But just without McCollum, I think Lillard looks a little bit better than Curry. Don't have interest in John Wall at 85. Lowry is priced up at 8,000, so I'd like him a lot more on DraftKings. I like De'Aaron Fox at 78. LaMelo looks good. Chris Paul. LaMelo looks a lot better than he does on DraftKings. Chris Paul looks the same. Both price tags are fair. Kemba at 66. I like him more on DraftKings. Not to say he's not in play on FanDuel. Then you have Conley and Kobe White as some cheaper guys with some upside, and Schroeder. I'd probably go Schroeder over all 3 of them. Probably go Schroeder, White, then Conley. And then for value, Saban Lee is 54, so that price tag is not going to be something I'll get to. I'd rather go to Dennis Smith. At 4,900, there's no Diallo, so that will probably help Maladon, who's $4,500 if you think he's going to have a good game soon. And it'll also help SGA. Right now, I'm going with my guy, De'Aaron Fox. 7,800. Oops. Shooting guard, we have Levine at 98. That price tag is not something I feel great about getting to at just based on the slate and not having a ton of value right now. I like SGA's price tag a ton. He was super underpriced on FanDuel, like back when he dropped 60 plus. Back when he dropped like 50s and 40s, he was like 76, 77. He was way too cheap. 8,000 is still nice. Still a nice price tag to get to him. Rozier looks a lot better than he does on DraftKings at 7,000. Buddy Hield is only 58. Josh Jackson is 57 against the Kings. He should be able to have some success in this matchup. And then still no Graham, so obviously that helps. Like Rozier, Ball, Hayward. And then for value, Joe Ingles is only 48. Don't really like to play anywhere in the Jazz, but his price tag is cheap enough to maybe consider in tournaments. Dort is only 4,400. He is pretty interesting today. Without Diallo, his minutes are going to be secure. Without Gordon Hayward, Al Horford, his minutes are also not that it's going to help too much, but he should get some more usage when he's out there. 44 is definitely a spot to maybe consider, and you can always take a shot with KCP at 37. But with Shooter back, I'd rather go to Shooter. And that is pretty much it. If Horton Tucker starts again in place of Kuzma, he looks fine. We will probably go with SGA as of now. 8,000 is still a great price tag. Missing a couple of pieces like Horford and Diallo is going to help. So, Fox SGA to start. Small forward. Small forward LeBron, 10-5. I like him more than Kawhi. Don't have interest in Butler. Don't have much at $8,800 for Siakam with Lowry back. I like Gordon Hayward's price tag at 71 more than Kelly Oubre's. Barnes looks good cheap. Gallo's price tag has skyrocketed. He was 4,700. He's up to 59. Not something I want to get to. Position as a whole isn't super deep. See if there's any good values that we can go to. It would mainly be like Batum if they're missing George or Kawhi. But he's definitely slowed down after his hot start to the season. Cam Johnson at 38. Maybe if there's no Saric. And that's it. So the position as a whole isn't super deep. I think Barnes looks good and Hayward looks good. Go ahead and plug in Gordon Hayward at 71. Power forward options, Sabonis 99. Good spot to get some rebounds and have some success as a front court against Boston. Tatum 94. Think I still like Grant the most out of this pay up group. He looks more better than Green and Collins. I don't have much interest in Tate at 66 with Oladipo, another high usage guy back. You can look at Baisley at 5,800 and see if there's anybody that sticks out for value. The Ibaka would be interesting if there's no George or Kawhi. Roby looks good anyways at 46 with no Al Horford. And that's mainly it, I think. Maybe you can look to Kaminsky if there's no Sarge, but they don't want to. I mean, they haven't been giving Kaminsky a ton of minutes. Right now, I'm going to go with Jeremy Grant against Sacramento. Should be able to dominate here. And then center options. Don't have a ton at the top, so that's why I'm paying up for like Fox, SGA, Hayward, Grant. We don't have like a 10K option like Jokic and B to pay up for. Most expensive guys are Gobert and Capella, both above 8,000, which I don't want to get to. Turner is already up to 72. He's 6,000 on DraftKings. He looks better on DraftKings. Plumlee is 7K. Looks better on DraftKings, but he's still viable on FanDuel. And then we have Wendell Carter at only 6,200. We have, let's see, Wiseman, if he's back. Played 18 minutes. I feel like they'll take it a bit easy on him. I don't think 5,200 is the price tag I want to get to. Cody Zeller is questionable. That's pretty important. If he doesn't play, then they will probably give Diambo the start. He's only 35, so he would be a guy that would probably get to on FanDuel. Just a min-price guy that gives you upside in the 20s and 30s. And that's mainly it here. Let's see if anybody else. Olynyk, if there's no Bam, looks good. So right now, this position is a spot to where I will probably have to take a wait-and-see approach. I think Looney's been starting at center, but let's see. He's never fun to play. So I'm going to leave center open because it's going to be dependent on Olynyk. If there's no Bam, I think we can go to Biombo if there's no Zeller. So I'll leave that spot open, and then power forward, I'll probably get to Roby at 46 just because he's cheap. And should see good minutes without Horford in there. So that's it for this one. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Best of luck, and I'll catch you all later.